but I think there's a greater level of contentment. And with that contentment, it's probably driven more from the fact that she doesn't have to worry about anything. She doesn't have to worry about looking after the house or paying bills or anything like that. She can really just enjoy her life.
Hi, I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Comfort Life. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading retirement communities and care providers to uncover insights to community lifestyle, care, culture, and leadership. This includes insights from residents, family members, and administration. This is the Comfort Life Insider Perspective.
Well, certainly what I liked about Scarborough when I first sort of visited it was it's a smaller community. And I felt that there was more of an opportunity for my mom to feel part of a family versus getting lost in the crowd. Had it been in a larger center, Scarborough bills themselves as a boutique seniors residence, and I consider it as such. There's very much a family feel when you enter the residence. And in terms of the ownership and management team, I feel that they're really first class. And certainly given the last year and a bit of COVID that we've gone through, that's really demonstrated itself to me very strongly. They've taken a number of initiatives to ensure the safety of the residents and family members as well. An example was at great expense, they purchased and installed a visitor trailer, which is positioned outside of the home, that during the worst of COVID at least allowed family to visit residents, albeit we were separated by a glass partition, but at least it helped facilitate some social connection during a difficult time. So that's just a sort of one example of the kind of, I guess, call it extra mile that I felt Scarborough went to. Well, I can't say enough about the activity director, Chelsea. She's full of energy and always full of great ideas, constantly thinking up new ways to engage the residents in interesting activities. In the case of my mother, I sort of classify mom as a bit of an introvert, so she's not readily one to get involved. But with some coaxing, she has gotten involved in a few of the activities. I myself actually volunteer there, so I've been able to see firsthand, the extent to which the activities department goes the extra mile in terms of engaging the residents there. They have teas, they have socials, of course, the standard bingo, which I'm sure most residents have. And two, I think under normal circumstances, there would have been outdoor excursions, that type of thing. Obviously, that was curtailed a bit during the past year, but certainly there are a lot of opportunities to engage socially. And I see that with a lot of the residents. I think, just to reiterate too, I think the fact that it is a smaller community, there's greater opportunity, I think, to get to know some of the residents a little better by name and to develop those kind of relationships than it would be in a larger community. Oh, they're excellent. And if I can give another example, especially I think COVID really highlighted, I think, the degree to which management teams in these residents stepped up to the plate. What really impressed me during this whole situation was the fact that we had, during the worst of it, bi-weekly family town hall meetings, Zoom meetings, where family members, residents could join in, and the owners and management team literally had an agenda where they went through, here's what the situation currently is, not only within the residents, but also within the greater Toronto community, vaccination updates, things they were undertaking to improve and ensure the safety of the residents. That to me was incredible. And I do know, from others who have family members in other seniors residents, that level of communication and dialogue with families wasn't happening. So to me, that really was impressive step to make sure that family members were put at ease. They had the latest information. They understood some of the directives that Scarborough took, and they in my mind, erred on the side of caution, which in this situation, I think was the right thing to do. And so that really, really impressed me. It's an older building. I think it's about 35 years old. However, when my mother first moved in, they were in the process of renovating and redoing the dining room, which they had since done. What impresses me the most is the amount of reinvestment in the building, not only in terms of ensuring it meets all the required standards, but just aesthetic upgrades as well. In fact, right now there's a lot of renovation and construction going on right now to improve the building. So to me, that says a lot also of the ownership and management team, that they're willing to reinvest and ensure that everything looks good and feels good, and it feels like home, and also meets the required safety standards. I'm not sure what else to answer in terms, the building. In terms of the amenities, because it's a smaller building, they have a lovely tea room, which is a nice gathering place for the residents. They have a huge auditorium in the lower level where they hold a lot of the activities. In former times, pre-COVID, they would have concerts down there and presentations. They have a way of celebrating birthdays during the month. So anyone who has a birthday in a given month, they set aside a special day, and they serve cake and refreshments, and anyone can come down and wish those people who have a birthday that month a happy birthday. They have physical education classes. There's a hair salon, an in-suite hair salon, which again, this is another example of the degree to which the management team went during COVID. They hired permanently the hairdresser on as a staff person, where in most, I think, residences, the hairdresser will come in on occasion. So that to me spoke a lot to the importance that management placed on individual residents' well-being, and the importance of how important it was to feel well groomed during this. They always host a family get together as well, a family barbecue. Again, things have been curtailed this year, but it's a huge opportunity for family to get together with their loved ones and with management and staff, and to celebrate the entire community. So that's another sort of, call it an event that extended to family as well. Quite spacious. She has, I don't recall the actual name of the layout of the suite, but she has sort of a small kitchenette with a fridge and a microwave and a sink. She doesn't use it that much because, obviously all her meals are included, but, if she would like to have someone up to her suite to serve them some coffee or tea, or have a little drink, she can do that. It's a sort of a rectangular shaped living room, so quite spacious, where she has a sofa, coffee table, end tables, couple of chairs, a TV, and her stereo. And then there's a separate room, quite a large bedroom, where she has a full queen size bed and all her furniture, and then a nice ensuite bathroom with a very, actually, it's a sliding door, which makes it easy for getting in and out, especially if you have either a wheelchair, or in her case, she has a walker. Well, I think definitely the area that I've seen the most in terms of her is her sense of, call it, happiness and content. Maybe happiness isn't the right word. It's been difficult for her since losing my dad, but I think there's a greater level of contentment, and with that contentment, it's probably driven more from the fact that she doesn't have to worry about anything. She doesn't have to worry about looking after the house or paying bills or anything like that. She can really just enjoy her life. And so I've seen that kind of improvement. It was, there's no question, there's that kind of change is a significant change for someone of that age to move from the family home into a new residence. But with time, I've seen her make that adjustment and feel quite comfortable. The feeling that she's safe. She doesn't have to worry about anything. And I think that's, I've noticed the difference when I call her, there's an upbeat tone in her voice, where in the past it would have been more, oh, I'm not feeling that great, or, it's not a great day. But I more often than not, she's in an upbeat mood. Well, definitely, for me, it feels like a home environment versus, if I have to say, I don't like you using the word institution, but it definitely feels like a place where you actually can call it home, and it has that welcoming feel as soon as you walk in the door. Staff are super friendly. There's usually residents sort of sitting in the lobby enjoying a conversation, it's very much, I think, that smaller community gives you a sense that you're in a home versus a bigger residence. Absolutely. There's certainly a big sense of, call it, relief isn't, well, I guess relief is a word that I can use in regards to my mom moving and living in Scarborough. It's also a sense of knowing that she's safe, and she's secure, and that, if anything were to happen, there's somebody there, in minutes. Um, Also, I think it's her day-to-day needs are looked after. It's helped me in the sense, yeah, she has some small needs that I will take her out for some outings on. But generally, everything she needs is provided for her, and that's a huge peace of mind. Really, is, I think, the right word for any family member, knowing that their loved one is in a safe environment and a supportive environment. Well, certainly, if you live in the Scarborough area, I would recommend Scarborough as a wonderful alternative. I know there are other options out there, but certainly from my perspective and from my mom's perspective, the fact that you're living in a smaller community, if that is a value to you, it certainly was a value to my mom and myself. And certainly the level to which the management and ownership, to me, takes an interest and actually cares for their residents is a huge part of it. The fact that they're willing to continue to make investments and reinvestment in the property and to improve the home for their residents speaks a lot to, I think, the importance and the value of that property as an option. Well, I think that the main thing is engaging the loved one, and having that conversation about, you know, uh, their safety, sharing with them your concern for their safety. Sometimes it's a difficult decision on the part of the your loved one to make that move. But to have that conversation about your concern for their health and safety, if isolation is a particular issue, if they're really by their own and they don't have another or a partner with them, I think that can make a huge difference in terms of making that step towards transitioning from living independently on your own and moving into a congregate environment. There's support there, there's health support, there's social network, there's activities, there's meals, all these things as you age become more and more of a challenge, and doing it alone isn't easy. And from the family member themselves or the rest of the family, it's a huge sense of peace of mind knowing that your family member is being looked after. It can take a toll on caregivers and family members if you're constantly checking in on your loved one as they age, and I understand that. So I think these factors all make a difference in terms of helping you make the decision with your loved one to move into that retirement home option. Well, at the time, my father had passed away, and my mother was living alone in the family home. And I had noticed that she was becoming increasingly isolated, and I was also concerned for her physical safety. So I started the process of, researching, available retirement homes within the Scarborough area that, for convenience, I needed to be close by. So I engaged my mom in the process, and I put together a list of local retirement homes, and we sort of went around and we did the tours. I tried to engage my mom in doing an overnight stay or a couple of nights stay, which a lot of the residents will offer guest suites, so that you can experience what it would be like for a few days or even a week before you make your decision. But she didn't need to do that. She felt that, once we did the tour, that she sort of had a sense of what it was like or would be like to live there. And so, I had a bit of a checklist in terms of, what the priorities were that I wanted to see. Number one was obviously safety and how the residence was set up, convenience, amenities, size of suite, cost obviously is a factor too. So we looked at all that, and then based our decision on that. And then we sort of had her move in. I mean, again, that was it's traumatic, and it's stressful, and there's some anxiety with that. But all in all, the move went relatively well, and over time she has settled in and felt at home. She knows people there, they know her, and I think that makes a huge difference. And as well for her, the fact that she doesn't have to concern herself or worry about the day-to-day things that we all have to deal with in living on our own or independently. So that was I think the main thing that we went through when it came to deciding it was time for her to move, to have that social support network, to feel safe and secure. Well, again, I liked the layout. I liked that it was a smaller building. That to me, I felt my mom is more of an introvert. I think she would have felt lost in a larger facility. So definitely, I liked the smaller feel. There were enough activities that would interest her should she wish to participate. She likes to exercise, and so those classes are offered. And she does participate in a few of the other activities. I think also, I think it was the cost, as well as the size of the suite. It really felt like home to her. The layout that she is in, facilitated her having a nice living area and a separate bedroom. Well, interestingly enough, what we ended up doing was, and I would highly actually recommend this, we moved my mom into the residence before we sold the house. And what that allowed us to do was to, she was part and parcel of what, obviously she was limited in terms of what she could take with her in terms of furnishing. So, she was engaged, and we did a layout, a floor plan of what would fit and what would look really nice, and what would make her feel at home. And having those few items that would remind her of home. And so once we had her, firmly settled in her new home, then my brothers and I were able to, do what we needed to do to get the house ready for sale. And I think doing it that way saved her the anxiety of knowing that, with any kind of move, you're going to be selling stuff, you're going to be, disposing of stuff that can be, I think, emotionally really difficult. So she wasn't part of that, end process when we did end up selling the house. And I think that made a huge difference in terms of making that transition for her a lot easier. Well, their maintenance staff are outstanding. I can't say enough about them. They're great. They were there to help with the move in. Also, what happened in the interim when my mom initially moved in, she was in another suite on another floor. And she didn't particularly, over time, she didn't particularly like the view. It was on one particular side of the building. So I had sort of put my name in because they offer this as an option. You can relocate within the building if another suite comes available. So we were contacted that another suite on the other side of the building came available. And so Scarborough looked after the entire move in-house. Obviously, I supported them in that move in terms of her personal belongings, but the actual physical move of bed and setup and heavy furniture was all looked after by the maintenance staff at Scarborough Retirement Residence. So that kind of service, in-house service, if you will, if you feel a need that you want to make a move into another suite layout for whatever reason, that exists as an option for you. You know what? I really don't think I would have done anything differently.
No?
I think the process by which we had undertaken the move, evaluating her current situation in her home, was this still working or not? Going through the exercise of finding a number of different residences, having a checklist of, pros and cons, what were the priorities of what we were looking for in a residence. The option, I still think I wished my mom had taken advantage of perhaps, spending some time in all the residents that we did look at to see if it was a good fit for her. Probably would add to, ensuring that you're making the right decision from the get-go. But all in all, I think we sort of came at it in a way that served us well, and I have no regrets, and I know my mom has no regrets.
For more information about this community, you can visit their profile at comfortlife.ca.